For the 36th year, the PBA Tour has come to Dallas. Inside Don Carter's All-Star Lanes West, it is the PBA Dallas Open. And let's take a look at our Alka-Seltzer brackets. Our first match of the afternoon, the wild card match, will feature Tony Reyes and Amleto Monacelli. Doug Kent, Rick Steelsmith, semifinal number 1. And young Richie Allen is waiting in the wings. He will be in semifinal number 2. Let's get right to our wildcat match. Here is Tony Reyes.
Nice.
Tony Reyes making his 4th television appearance final. You know, Randy, we saw him at the Mohegan Sun. He had a great chance to win in November. Let it slip away from him, but he has begun this part of the season with a renewed interest in getting back in the winning circle. We're seeing right away, Randy, the lane conditions. Right off the bat, we can see that the players have got to be so precise in going down the middle. Too far to the right, it falls off the cliff.
The players get the ball right of the second arrow down the lane, down where their break point is, about 40 feet down the lane. The ball's like falls off a cliff. There's a big patch of oil there. Ball will never make it back to the head pin.
What a way to try to get your first win by having to win a match against Amleto Monacelli, the 40-year-old from Venezuela. 18 titles to his credit, 86th singles appearance. His wife and young son still live in Venezuela, where she's an architect.
You never see a 40-year-old in better shape than Amleto Monacelli.
And we saw it get a little too far outside. You know, talking to Amleto, and he is a health freak. I mean, this is a man that works out about 1.5 hours to 3 hours a day. He's into weights. He says he works 2 body parts every day, jogs from 1 mile to 5 miles a day.
Well, I don't think this is a matter of the ball getting too far right. I think it was just a little too fast with speed. Throw the ball too hard, the ball doesn't grip the lane, and it doesn't make it back to the head pin.
Now we have our first open frame. Let's take a look at the conditions and see exactly what they are bowling on today.
Well, this week, the PBA Sport condition, it was 31 feet of length, buffed to 42 feet, fairly long run. Pattern's very flat side to side, but what happened this week was the lanes broke down and forced the players to play in the middle part of the lane. Towards the end of today, you're going to see the players playing 5th and 6th arrow. They're going to be throwing shots this part of the lane out to about the 10th board.
Seems like a similar pattern last week.
It's actually the same pattern as last week, just a different surface.
And a lot of the power player already with 1 open frame. You know, talking about what this would mean to him, because he hasn't won since 1997. He said it would mean a lot to the confidence, and this is how he got here. Took care of Norm Duke, Brian Himmler, then lost to Tony Reyes, which put him in the wild card match. He's looking to get that confidence that led him to win over $1,800,000.
Right now, Amleto's having a little issue with some of our fans.
I think it was a little boy that was talking to his dad, and his dad leaned over and said, no, you can't do that. A lot of kids here today. That's good to see. The place is absolutely packed here at Don Carter's West.
It's a tough start for Amleto. Leaves a split on the right lane, comes back, and, you know, it's a residue from the right lane. He doesn't want to go light again. He goes high, leaves a 3-6-10, and misses it.
Well, Tony Reyes has doors open for him now.
Yeah, well, Tony Reyes can breathe a little easier now. When your opponent does something like that to you early on, it really helps to relax you. Here's a guy that's been working real hard on his game as of late.
Oh,
boy, my.
yeah.
Gives it right back to Amleto.
You know, you talk about him working very hard this week. He told me before the match that this is the most consistent he has bowled in a long time. He has been bowling quite well.
See, this ball goes right through the heart. Doesn't get the good break of tripping the 6-pin out. He's going to go for the 2 pins account.
Trying to pick it up, and both players have a couple of open frames now.
Tony Reyes has been working real hard on his game. Last week in Vegas, he worked with the great Don Johnson, rooms with Don's son, Jimmy Johnson, who I used to room with. And I've worked with Don Johnson myself. In fact, I worked with Don in 1990. The very next week, I went on to win the Quaker State in Dallas, Grand Prairie, Texas.
Right.
Don's a phenomenal coach, but he's worked on Tony's footwork. We'll take a look at that later.
There you go. And his focus.
Yeah, you hear him say, finally, yo, brother. That's a nice
Gotta
little...
get this thing going.
Oh, we got to get this thing... Gotta get
I like
this thing
that.
going.
I like that. He wants that first title.
Well, he's a really nice guy. Again, a lot of work, rededicated himself. Had some personal issues he had to overcome.
Amleto still trying to find his name. Here's a man that had to undergo some injury problems back in 2000, 2001. Had a problem with his little finger, a tendon, and because of that, he grips the ball differently. Randy, a lot of guys cup that little finger on the right hand. Not Amleto. He's telling us that he has to keep it straight now. You'll be able to see it right there.
What happens when you tuck your pinky is it puts added pressure on your two fingers, on your middle finger and your ring finger. And I tuck my pinky. A lot of players tuck their pinkies. Amleto just put too much strain on that ligament, that tendon, that finger. He had to kind of revamp his grip, changed his pitches in his ball a little bit, and now he's bowling pain-free.
Well, Bo Burton used to say that it looked like Amleto was starting a lawnmower, didn't he?
Well, watch this. Let's take a look at Amleto's game. He's going to have a shoulder-high backswing, gets the ball into the swing. Look at the height of this backswing. But the thing that I like is look where his hand is. It's on the inside part of the bowling ball. Now go ahead and rotate. Watch what he does at the bottom, that snap. That's how you create power.
Looking for his first, and he finally gets it here in the fourth. So Amleto Monacelli only trailing by 8 pins, despite the fact he had 3 open frames. And Tony Reyes, the radio and TV degree major from San Jose State, where he was an All-American back in '93 and '95, national championship in '93. Second to Paul Fleming for Rookie of the Year back in '99. Yeah, 2 in a row.
Some breaks out there, man. Come on.
Well, bowling fans, if you log on right now to PBA.com, you can chat live with Rudy Rez Kazamakis. And if you have a question about today's telecast, leave it on the chat session. And if your question is answered live on the air, you'll receive a PBA prize package. Once again, log on to www.pba.com. Do it right now.
Rudy Rev's Tasmanian Devil is live on our website as we speak. Tony Reyes looking for 3 in a row.
Uh-oh.
Didn't like it. For good reason.
Well, the guys are a little tight early on. They look like they had a really good ball reaction in practice. You know, they're trying to get lined up, zoned in, and, you know, the most importantly thing is they got to make good shots. This ball's left of target, and you heard him right away when he let go of it. He said, uh-oh, he knew that ball was going to go high.
There you can see the board and the speed. We'll be keeping you updated on that throughout the afternoon. And he has his second open frame. So Tony Reyes with a couple of open frames. Amleto Monacelli with 3 open frames. It is still close. We're in our wild card match from Dallas, Texas. Stay with us. Today's live coverage of the Dallas Open on ESPN is brought to you by Alka-Seltzer Heartburn Relief. Nothing puts out the fire faster. By Dexter, the #1 bowling shoe in the world, the right shoe for you. And by Meineke Discount Mufflers. You won't pay a lot, but you'll get a lot. Welcome back to Dallas. We're in our wild card match, and right now, Amleto Monacelli, the Hall of Famer from Venezuela, trailing by just 17 pins versus Tony Reyes, who is up, bowling in the 6th frame, along with Randy Peterson. I'm Ron Thulin. You can see, Randy, what he has done so far. And it looks like he speeded up and got a little better.
Let's try a different zone here.
You just heard him say he's going to try a different zone. He's kind of fishing around here in the 5th frame. 2 boards left of target on the left lane when you heard him say, uh-oh. Switched balls, went straighter. That's a big change, Ron.
Closer.
He obviously likes that. He switched balls, went to a weaker ball that doesn't react quite as strongly down the lane, and moved. Let's see what our cat's telling us, how far he moved right. Get to that in a minute.
You can see the 4th TV appearance. He says he's learned how to be on TV. He saves his energy.
My cat's system is telling me that he moved 9 boards right, location at the arrows.
Thank you.
That shot there was about to the 17th board, which is about 2 boards left of the 3rd arrow on the right side of the lane. Previous to that, he was at the 25th board, which would be the 3rd arrow on the left side.
That gives the novice bowler out there an idea when you mention 25th board, because a lot of people aren't sure how you count them.
Well, the thing you got to remember is the 1st arrow on the right side of the lane is the 5th board, and they work in 5 board increments, left to right or right to left, depending on which hand you throw it with.
better out there.
How about that ball reaction? What a gutsy move. Didn't like what he had from in. Moves 10 boards to the right with his target. Next thing you know, he leaves a 4-pin, and this ball goes dead flush. Just left of the third arrow right there, and that ball is dead packed.
Yeah. You know, you can't stress the importance and how gutsy move it is to change balls, change positions halfway through a match.
That's the way you become a champion out here. You can't be afraid to make adjustments.
Amleto staying way to the left still, and he's still having problems. Leaves the 10.
Well, at least that ball got.
Come on.
At least that ball got to the pocket.
You know, when you talk about Amleto Monacelli, though, the thing that comes to mind, he's from Venezuela. He goes 3-4 weeks on the tour, goes home for a week. It's not like those who live in the States that can go home for 2 or 3 days. This is a difficult grind on him, and to win $1.8 million, be in the Hall of Fame, you got to tip your hat to the man.
Well,
just a reminder, coming up later today here on ESPN, it's NFL Primetime at 10:30. Join Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, and the crew as they break down the Super Bowl being played tonight in New Orleans. That'll be coming up at 10:30 Eastern right here on ESPN. And the Super Bowl predictions for our players: Allen and Kent, Patriots; Reyes and Steelsmith, Rams; and Amleto Monacelli thinks football is soccer.
Yeah. Amleto, it is football, and that game you guys play where you come from is soccer. Okay, let's get that straight, pal.
You don't kick a touchdown.
No, you don't kick a touchdown. But right now, Amleto would like to kick the ball down the lane and get it to the 1-3 pocket to strike. How
frustrating is it, Randy? You have been in the position where you have won a lot, like Amleto, and you have stuff like this happen.
Well, obviously, he bowled tremendous all week long, had a good ball reaction to get to this point, made great shots, and right now his ball reaction's terrible. He's not really sure what to do to get the ball to the 1-3. And the problem that players face is when they start to try to make big adjustments, they face open frames.
You know, talking to Amleto before the match, he is such an instinct player. He said the first time he ever got on television, 1982 in San Jose, he didn't even know where he was standing. And people said, you know, you're on the 5th board. He said, I didn't know that. He's more of an instinct player. Just get up there, throw the ball.
Right.
And here's Tony Reyes, who's been working on visualization this week, especially in the round of 16 and the round of 8.
Visualization and working on his footwork.
Wheel. Yeah! Right on, man.
All right, we're going to take a look at the Long Island Open when Tony Reyes made the telecast earlier this year and now. On the left here is Tony Reyes' old footwork. Go ahead and roll tape.
Oh, one more right here.
All right, now go ahead and stop it right there. Now, what Tony was doing was he was tight-roping his footwork, one foot in front of the other, and the problem with that is it really confused his swing. Go ahead and roll the tape on the right. Now, watch what his third step does here. All right, now freeze. Now, notice now the left step is going to the left. What that does is it gives his swing room.
Yeah, brother!
It gives his swing room.
He's playing like right back home right now. Use that all day today.
You love it.
He's playing right back home in league.
Gives his swing room to get up underneath him and gives him better leverage at the foul line.
Because he's late anyway. I mean, when he gets to the foul line, the ball is still way up in the air.
Well, he's a big man. He's got a real high backswing. He's really got to wait on his swing. And now Don Johnson got him to get that left step to go to that third step to go to the left. Gives his swing room.
Well, Amleto Monacelli needs a miracle.
Hey, all right.
Well, he's still in it, but only his second strike of the afternoon for the man that has won 18 times on the tour.
Ron.
6th in PBA history in money winning.
Excuse me, Ron, I'm sorry. Amleto, 40 years old, probably the best shape of any player out on tour. Works out with his roommate, George Branham, 6 days a week. You take a look at Amleto's career earnings, $1.8 million. Said the legs are the most important part in a bowling game. And just no ball reaction, not sure what his ball is going to do when it leaves his hand.
Now the frustration on his face is obvious, and the winner is going to be Tony Reyes. Here in our opening wild card match, Tony Reyes will advance.
Ball cuts right through the heart.
With the spare ball with a boxing glove in it. And Amleto Monacelli, though, will finish 5th in this tournament. Tony Reyes just 2 steps away from winning his first PBA Tour title. He has been on TV 3 previous times. All 3 times he has finished 3rd.
Well, $9,000 is not a bad week. And Amleto enjoys nice dinner and a very nice glass of Italian wine. $9 will buy a lot of that.
Well, he congratulates Tony Reyes, the winner of match number 1. Tony Reyes is, all he needs is 1 pin here in the 10th. I'm going to go on a limb and say he will get that.
I think Tony can handle that.
Yes, he can. One of the truly nice guys on the tour. Everybody is, but Tony is just ultra friendly.
He really is, and it looks like Tony's found a nice little home there right around the 3rd arrow.
Finally lined up now.
See, I told you it was lined up.
I'm glad he told us that. You know, I always kid the players. I say, don't forget to give us little tidbits when you're out on the lanes.
He gets that first win under his belt.
And he has been perfect on single pair conversions throughout the entire week. But Tony Reyes, he is advanced to the semifinals. We still have a lot more bowling come from Dallas, Texas. It's the PBA Dallas Open right after this. Welcome back to Don Carter's West in Dallas, Texas, where Tony Reyes has advanced to semifinal number 1. An impressive win, 200-161 over Amleto Monacelli. And our brackets look like this. Right now, Tony Reyes will advance to take on Richie Allen and Doug Kent, Rick Steelsmith. They are standing in the wings right now. Once again, Randy Peterson joins me. Randy, I think the key to that match was obviously Tony Reyes making that adjustment, a gutsy move in about the 6th frame.
Made the big move. He moved about 10 boards to the right instead of playing the big hook ball from in. Played that straight ball around 3rd arrow, and he found the pocket, and Amleto had trouble hitting the pocket.
Now we have Rick Steelsmith, Doug Kent standing up next, but then still waiting in the wings for Tony Reyes. For the 3rd consecutive week, we have a first-time TV appearance in young Richie Allen. He is feeling under the weather. What is he feeling now, though, having to go up against Tony Reyes?
Well, he's got a big fan support here this week, and once he gets a couple shots under his belt, the adrenaline will kick in. He won't have any problems. It's, you know, the biggest day of his bowling career.
No question about it. We still have a lot more bowling coming your way from Dallas, Texas. Wild card is in the books. We head to the semifinals. Doug Kent, Rick Steelsmith, straight ahead right here on ESPN. Welcome back to Dallas, Texas, the PBA Dallas Open. Along with Randy Peterson, I'm Ron Thune. We are joined now by a man that picked up his first PBA win earlier this year. Patrick Allen joins us in the booth. Patrick, good to have you with us.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk about Richie Allen. No relation, by the way. Talk about Richie Allen. We talked about him just a second ago. What is that young man feeling right now, waiting in the wings now for Tony Reyes?
Well, he's really bowled well the last 2 weeks, and he lost in the top 8 last week. Had a chance to make it. This week, he redeemed himself, got here. And I think he's going to be really focusing, really hard to beat.
Now we've got Rick Steelsmith, Doug Kent up in semifinal number 1. Rick Steelsmith out of Wichita, Kansas, former All-American at Wichita State. One thing we noticed, Randy and Patrick, in the practicing is that Rick Steelsmith was using a couple of different balls, trying to see the reaction of the balls. Did anybody learn anything from Tony Reyes?
Well, I think you're going to see that when Doug Kent gets up. Doug was probably playing deeper than anybody in practice. I just watched him throw some practice shots prior to the start of this match, and he's moved out where Tony Reyes was playing.
Patrick, did you get the sense that the front part of the lanes were drying up quickly this week?
Definitely, especially in the top 16 and the top 8 with the lights on the lanes. The oil was definitely going through transition very quickly.
Let's take a look at after Doug throws his shot from our CATS system to see where his location is. Our CATS is the computer-aided tracking system. There's a bunch of sensors on the gutter cap separating the 2 lanes that gives us all our information, and that information is brought to you by the Kegel Training Center in Sebring, Florida. As you take a look at Doug's road to the telecast today.
One of the most consistent players on the PBA Tour, no question about it.
That's well right of where he was in practice, guys. That was the 16th board, 1 board left of the 3rd arrow. In practice, he was the 25th, 26th, 27th board. So again, a big move to the right. Okay, so this is where he's playing right now, about the 3rd arrow. And in practice, he was over in here.
Yeah, he's moved over a lot. Let's see if he adjusts.
It's 10 boards with target, and probably, Patrick, wouldn't you say 5 to 7 boards 8 boards with his feet.
Definitely. Doug is by far one of the most dimensional bowlers out here. He has a lot of facets in his game, and he's not afraid to switch angles and speed.
You know, talking to him last night, he was telling us, Randy, that he watches that first match. A lot of guys will go off to the side and kind of think about what they're going to do. He says he likes to watch because he thinks he can learn something.
Well, Doug's a student of the game, and as Patrick alluded to, you know, he can do a lot of different things. He can roll it up the back and straight and hard. He can hook it with anybody.
Much different look.
And, it's completely different than what he's played all week.
Absolutely.
You know, the players have been in all week throwing that little arc or that fallback shot where the ball just kind of lays in the oil and at about 50 feet makes that little turn into the back end and sets up right in front of the pocket. But here's a guy that I think is really turning the corner, Patrick. Rick Steelsmith has worked so hard on his mental game. You know, he's really getting to a point where he's getting very positive about what he's doing.
Absolutely. He's with a certain ball company for a long period of time, and since 1st of January, he's throwing some other different companies' bowling balls, and it's definitely working out for him.
You see how he buries his fingers, and you hear this popping noise. It's something that you don't hear a lot of players do. He buries his fingers for a strike ball past the first knuckle. He says it gives him a really good feel. At the bottom of the swing, you hear that popping noise.
Well, for the past 6 months, it is really starting to come together for Rick Steelsmith. You mentioned it. He's working on his mental game, Randy. He is going to a sports psychologist right now to try to get over the fact that he stands up at the lanes and he thinks about so many different things. He says he's got to quit thinking about a lot of stuff and just get up there and bowl.
Right. Well, when he was struggling, you know, back a couple years ago, he's really started to kind of tear his game apart. And he really became analytical. He told me, you know, he just stopped thinking. He just went on instinct and started concentrating more on release and how he was going to throw the ball.
There you go. Well, his loft was better on that, and that's something else he's been working on.
Well, the deeper the players got this week, the more they started to have to fight with that left gutter. And they actually started to loft the ball to clear the left gutter or loft the ball to keep the ball on line, delay the hook. The ball can't hook if it's in the air.
Well, the last win for Doug Kent came in 2000, 4 titles, including the 91 Masters, making his 25th career singles appearance. Owns a bowling center in Newark, New York. Doug Kent throwing that straighter ball. How can a guy, though, with a lot of revs, not throw it fast? Something you guys explain me that.
Well, I talked, Patrick, you know, you can elaborate on this, but I talked to Doug last night, and he said that all he's doing is trying to make his timing later and later, delay his timing. And the way he does that is he delays his push away, keeps him slower and softer so that when he gets to the bottom, he can really unwind on it without throwing it harder.
That seems to be working for him very well. He seems to be able to do whatever he wants to do with slowing his timing down the way he wants to.
Well, the season-ending battle at Little Creek begins March 12th, and once again, your vote will determine the final player in this limited 32-man field. Now, to participate in the voting, all you have to do is go to PBA.com, select the news category on the left-hand side, then click on the Geico Direct Battle Ballot. Link to vote for your favorite player, www.pba.com. Vote on your favorite player. Patrick Allen is one of the 5 players that you can vote on this week. You'd like to go to Virginia Beach, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
So would Doug Kent.
Hey, Patrick, tell us how tough is it when, you know, you bowled 40, 50, 60 games in a week, you know, playing the deep inside angle, hooking it, you know, doing what you're doing, and you do this the same for 60, 70 games, and all of a sudden you get 4 or 5 practice shots prior to your match, and all of a sudden you're throwing it dead straight.
I think the guys that made the show this week were doing a couple different things. Rick, last night was really lofting it in the top 8. And I think the guys that got to the show this week had a lot of different facets that worked for them, and that's why they got here.
So basically what you're saying is that the guys that made it this week can do more than one thing. They're not just one-dimensional. They've got all the tricks, and they're not afraid to use them at any time.
They were using them when they needed shots in the 9th and 10th, and they were doing whatever they needed to do to get there.
Roxanne Steelsmith back in Wichita, Kansas, and Rick was hoping that she and the kids would be able to come down. There's a daughter 7, a son 3, but they're up in Wichita, Kansas, and I'm sure their father's thinking about them right now. That and the fact he'd like to knock all these down. Ooh.
His reaction looks really good inside, Randy.
It does, you know, and if you watch his release at the bottom of the swing, his hand is really up the back and really rolling it, and that's what's keeping the ball on line, gripping the lane, and not getting that Amleto reaction when he gets it a little too far to the right and it just hangs there.
Yeah, his reaction didn't look very good. I think he might have been throwing too weak a ball.
Amleto?
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good call. And I think he was kind of trapped in between not being deep enough but not being far enough to the
Exactly.
right.
Well, as Rick Steelsmith finishes up the 5th, he's still 8 pins up on Doug Kent. He's working on a strike in the 4th. Doug Kent, 18 straight 200 games in qualifying.
And then he said the lanes got a lot tougher, and his road to today was making a lot of spares. Beginning of the week, used real aggressive bowling balls. Match play started and went to weaker balls.
He can take the lead by 1. Oh, and he does.
That was the high hard one right there, right down the 3rd arrow. He hadn't been doing that all week.
Now, Sunday at 7 Eastern, Robert De Niro stars as former middleweight champion Jake LaMotta in this hauntingly vivid biography. Black and white cinematography emphasizes the stark reality of LaMotta's violent nature, which virtually destroys him. Don't miss this must-see movie for movie fans. One of the greats. Of course, we're talking about Raging Bull. For more information, log on to ESPN.com.
And, you know, Ron, Kathy Moriarty's in that movie, and she was nominated for Best Actress.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually sponsored me about 20 years ago.
Did you really?
Yeah, she sponsored me when I was bowling regionals and local events.
Patrick's looking at you like, what are you talking about?
Honest to God, true story. I met her at the bowling center, and she was there practicing and bowling and having fun, and take a look over at me and said, hey, this guy looks like he
needs help.
He needs help.
Well, there's where it hit, right smack dab on the 1.
That ball was left of target.
He's got the smiley ball for the spare ball.
Sunglasses and all.
Well, Doug Kent, Rick Steelsmith trying to get into the finals of the Dallas PBA Open. They are locked head-to-head in a battle. This one is far from over. We'll return to Dallas in a moment. While we were away, Rick Steelsmith had a spare in the 7th. Doug Kent just struck in the 7th. And we are even as we head to the final few frames, along with Randy Peterson. Patrick Allen still with us for a couple of more throws here. This is to go up by 10 for Doug Kent.
Match all even, coming down to the all-important 8th, 9th, and 10th. Wow.
That's a huge shot, Patrick.
Right in between the 2nd and 3rd arrow, our Cats is telling me that was a 17.7 board.
Mm-hmm.
Moved slightly in from the last shot.
Well, during the break, Randy, we were talking that Rick Steelsmith is still left of Doug Kent and Tony Reyes, but he's throwing so well right now.
Well, he's left of them, but he's not as deep as Amleto was. Look at that!
Oh, my, what reaction.
He gets a little scout. What do you call that, PA? The big messenger. Watch this action of the head pin. It's going to come across and just disintegrate the 10. Here it comes. Watch this. Just go bird hunting for that 10 pin. What a great break.
Rick, who had to overcome rotator cuff injury back in '88-'89. With a strike, he'll be able to pull even with Doug Kent.
Oh.
Boy, you know, the door is open right there, but just not able to knock it through. Rick Steelsmith still trailing. Patrick, after this ball, I want to get your final thoughts on this match. And don't forget, folks, go to PBA.com. You can vote for Patrick Allen, part of our elite field in Virginia Beach later on in March. Patrick, final thoughts on this? Well, now let's take a look at our Dexter Footwork of the Pros with today's Rick Steelsmith.
My Dexter solution this week was the number 7 heel and the number 4 sole. I consider myself a tweener with a long slide. This week's approaches were synthetics and just a little bit tacky early in the week, and this combination helped to give me a consistent slide throughout the week.
Well, Doug Kent currently leading by 10. And the strike goes up by 20, but no. So Rick Steelsmith still in it. I'd like to thank Patrick Allen for spending some time with us in the match, and hopefully he'll be part of the Virginia Beach thing. They can vote in for you, though, can't they?
They can vote for me in a couple of weeks. It'd be nice to make that tournament. It's an awesome tournament. And Patrick, I just wanted to congratulate him on a phenomenal year.
That's right.
Been bowling great. Won his first title. And it's been very entertaining on the telecast, and it was a pleasure to have him in the booth with us. Right now, Doug Kent going at a 2:16 pace. Rick Steelsmith can strike out in the 10th frame for 2:18.
Well, Doug Kent was 4th after the first round, 2nd after the second round. Struggled a little bit in the round of 32. Then came on strong.
Big shot here. 2 strikes in the 10th frame and good count. Doug Kent will advance.
Well, he's been trying to delay the ball, get through the front a little bit cleaner. That has been his goal the whole week in this tournament. Strike 3 to win for Doug Kent. The door is open a little bit, Randy. Don't put him on a resuscitator yet.
Well, spare strike. Doug Kent will shoot 2:14. Rick Steelsmith can strike out for 2:18.
As the week went on, the back ends of the lanes got tighter and tighter for Doug Kent.
But, you know, he's changed his whole game plan, though. He was hooking the ball away from way in. Talked about it early on. He's moved way right compared to where he's been. Right now, he's just trying to get a feel and adjust his swing to going much straighter.
Now picks up the spare in the 10th.
That bowling ball he's throwing for his spares, I think it's got sunglasses on it. He keeps using that spare ball much longer. We're going to need sunglasses. That thing is bright.
Well, with the strike, Rick Steelsmith will need a strike, and a 7 in the 10th. So it's all in his court right now.
Well, I think the interesting thing is that Rick Steelsmith gets to finish on the right lane, and he struck every ball but one on the right lane.
Oh, my. The door is open now.
Rick Steelsmith still needs a double.
Yeah, still needs a double.
The count is kind of irrelevant now, but he still needs 2. He struck every ball except for the first frame. I'm sorry, except for the second frame on the right lane. So if you were going to pick a lane to finish on, and he did, this would be the lane to finish on.
The formula is simple. Strike, 3, and Rick Steelsmith advances to the finals. There is one. The man who won the ABC Masters in '87. Rookie of the Year in '88.
And Ron, in my opinion, Rick Steelsmith is one break away from turning the corner. This guy needs one break, one hit, something to go his way, and it's all over. This guy's going to start winning again and be a major factor out here.
On the round of 16 versus Jimmy Johnson, he lost the first 2 games, then won the next 3 to stay alive. He has stayed alive in this. He needs a strike.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That one break, gets the ball a little bit wide, barely gets back to the headpin, carries the messenger, the mixer. Exactly what Rick Steelsmith needs to get jump-started. Watch the action of the headpin going to the sidewall and taking care of the 4 and the 7.
Baby. And the reaction of Rick. Yeah, all right. He just needs 3 now, and he will advance to the finals. $40,000 on the line. Put his name in the books. Rick Steelsmith, our first finalist. He defeats Doug Kent 218 to 210. We have semifinal number 2 straight ahead. Well, just about a 5-minute drive from here, Texas Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. We haven't won a Super Bowl since Barry Switzer was the head coach, not in it this year. Once again, the final score, Rick Steelsmith wins at 218-210, and Rick will advance to the finals against the winner of our next match. And the Alka-Seltzer brackets look like this. Steelsmith is our first finalist, and we have Richie Allen and Tony Reyes standing by, and the winner of that will also go into the finals. Now, one of the young stars on the PBA Tour, Richie Allen, waits for Tony Reyes in the next match. We visit with rookie Tommy Jones, who last week finished in a tie for 3rd in his first TV appearance. So let's meet this contender for Rookie of the Year.
I didn't have any brothers and sisters. I'm the only child. My parents both bowled a lot. Started bowling a little bit and bowled all through school. And I was kind of raised in the bowling center a little bit. My mom actually was a program manager at a bowling center, and I'd go there after school and bowl 50, 60 games a day. And I guess when you practice something that much, you get pretty good at it. I enjoyed all sports. I was real big into sports. I've always been one to love watching sports and play sports. The only other sports that I played, organized leagues or whatever, was baseball. Played baseball in Little League or whatever. I quit playing baseball for about 3 years and started back playing again in high school because I wanted to have something else to do. For my age group in the state of South Carolina, I was ranked #1 for average for 5 or 6 years in a row, and it kind of had some assumption that I was okay. And my big thing I won state amateur qualifier in 1995, and I went to bowl for Team USA in Hong Kong in 1996. Learned a lot of stuff and really enjoyed my time. When I joined the PBA, Jason Couch has helped me a lot. He's kind of put me under his wing and helped me out on tour, showing me the ropes a little bit.
What impressed me the most about Tommy, it was his attitude. He never really got upset, and for a young guy to come on the tour and have that kind of mental game where he doesn't get upset at himself, take the peaks and valleys and kind of even them out to where you're never going to really kill yourself early in a tournament. He's got that already.
Yeah, I would say bowling is about 80% mental, 20% of it's physical, and you just have to know what to do, when to do it. And it's all learning, and I've learned a lot bowling the regionals. I've learned a lot talking to my fellow competitors. When we're on the lanes, yeah, it's a little different, but when we're off the lanes, bowl the practice session, the guys will come up and help me, and it seems to pay off a lot. So I play golf a lot. Love to play golf. I watch a lot of sports, and I'm still kind of into video games a little bit. Still play video games a little bit. We play them on the road quite a bit. But other than that, just hanging out with the guys, doing the normal guy stuff. Well, of course, I'd like to win Rookie of the Year. That was my main goal coming on tour. Always want to win a title. It's always been a dream of mine to have a professional bowler's title. So hopefully I can get those two, and then if it goes good, then maybe up the goals a little bit. But those are my main goals right now, is to work hard enough to pay off. And when people look back and say, not only was he a good bowler, he was a good person.
Randy, you and I are going to be seeing a lot of this young man as the season progresses. He is an incredible talent.
Yeah, and he really leaves a lasting impression on you. The first time I met him was at a regional event in our southern region in Florida. And he's a real nice guy, real soft-spoken, real quiet guy, but a lot of fun. And a great bowling talent.
Now, semifinal #2, Tony Reyes versus Richie Allen.
Hold. Oh, brother.
And it did hold.
Get a holding call out there on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yo, Tony, talk that talk.
Oh, man.
Tony,
he had his Oakland Raiders shirt on, I must admit.
Tony's motto today, just win, baby.
That's right.
Oakland Raider fan Al Davis, come on.
And here's Richie Allen out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, just 23 years old. Yeah, and we got to say, though, Richie is really feeling under the weather. We talked about an hour and a half ago. He had a sore throat, the aches and pains. It's been that way for a week, but what a week he had. How about 9-2 in match play? That's the best of anybody.
Hey, you know what, Ron? One of my old coaches, Fred Borden, the great Fred Borden out of Akron, I'd come back to him looking at him with a cut on my finger, and he'd say, hey, Randy, just spit on it and throw strikes. This is no time to look for a Band-Aid, man. You got to suck it up and get after it. And that's exactly what this guy's going to do, trust me.
Well, that's what he was telling us. He said, I can't worry about that now. I don't have any control over it. Let's just go out. But how about great poise is what he showed against Walter Ray Williams Jr. in the round of 32. That's Brian and Mary Ann Clark. Richie's mom and stepdad. His father lives in Florida, Bill. Said his dad was extremely pleased when he called him down in Florida about it. He gives her something to be pleased about with a strike.
And these guys are learning. You see Richie Allen's playing further right than he did in practice. Something's developed from the time the guys started practicing to the time they finished. To the time we went on the air, the lanes have changed. The guys are moving right. Richie Allen's using 2 different balls. Thanks, Paul Kaler, my statistician, our statistician. Gives us the great info. Always gives you great info.
That's all. I take it all the time. Now, again, Tony has switched balls again.
Heel.
The ball does not have ears. It didn't hear a word he said.
See, and that's the one thing you can't do when you're going straight like that. Your mistake area has to be to the left. It can't be to the right.
You bring up a good point, because Tony Reyes has always told us that when he bowls in a TV final, he just wants to give himself chances.
Slide the 2 over.
Oh, close. Well, he left the second open in the first match, and he leaves the second open in the second match. Well, our PBA Tour question of the week. Well, Tony has switch balls in his first match. When do you know when to switch? Thank you, Tracy Hurd of Charlotte, North Carolina, for logging on to PBA.com, giving us that. Randy, give us the answer.
Well, when your ball is going in the V direction, one shot goes right, one shot goes left, and it's never doing the same thing consistently from point A to point B. You got to get a ball in your hand that, number one, clears the front end and then retains enough energy to hook in the back end. And you can tell, you know, if you throw a shot that feels good out of your hand and it does something completely crazy down the lane, you know you're not using the right equipment.
You don't think these guys are working hard, folks. Just you look at Tony Reyes. It's been a long week. And Richie Allen, second year on the PBA Tour. He became such the crowd favorite yesterday. When I walked into the center and I hear everybody yelling and screaming, they sort of took this young man under his wings. He loved it.
Well, he's done a lot of bowling in this area and, you know, just grew up not too far from here, 4 hours up 35 into Tulsa, 4 or 5 hours away. Yeah, very unique style, Richie Allen. If we can get a shot of it, his feet are actually almost off, all the way off the back of the approach. You know, and you look at the two different styles. Tony Reyes, being 6'2", 6'3", stands up at the first row of dots, takes those short steps. Richie Allen, 5'9", uses the full length of the approach. The reason why, smaller person, uses his body and his legs to create power.
About a 90-pound difference in the two. There he finds the pocket as we take a look at the other scores from around the top 16. Del Ballard Jr. from right here in Dallas. You know, and in fact, Richie Allen gives Del Ballard a lot of credit. He says he's known him for a long time, and Del noticed that his ball was rolling funny. He threw an inverted track, and Ballard got him out of that.
Worked on his release and his hand position.
Now, Tony has switched balls again.
Switching back. You know, that's the one thing you got to do in a one-game match. You can't be afraid to make changes. A little fast, got the ball right. And the one thing you got to guard against. I mean, he's got a little adrenaline going right now, Ron. You know, he knows he's one match away from the title match. 1, 2, 4, 6, 10. All right, take a deep breath and regroup.
Well, he wanted to start out slow and then become more aggressive. I think it's time to flip that switch.
Well, again, you know, when you're aggressive, when you're going straighter, that's fine. Again, you cannot miss right. The ball will never hook back from there. You miss right when you're throwing the big curve. You're throwing the big hook, you're playing way in, then you miss right, not left. When you're throwing it straight, your mistake area has to be to the left.
Well, the difference is the right and the left lanes, having much more success on the left. Except for there.
And that's just the residue of the shot on the right lane. Misses the head pin on the right lane. Next thing you know, he gets on the left lane and says, okay, I'm not going to make a mistake to the right, overcompensates, and this ball's pulled left.
Never comes back, you're right. Goes off the cliff.
Gets right, it goes off the cliff, a little bit too far to the left, it goes right through the schnoz.
Ooh, my.
Well,
he said he wanted to keep his heart rate down. That's not going to help that situation any. Now, the frustration of Tony Reyes, mad at himself, but Richie Allen, the cool as a cucumber at times, because a temper has been his problem up until a couple of years ago. And we'll tell you about that in a second. Leading by 40, he goes up some more. You know, back in Dallas in 2001, he needed a strike in the 10th to win. Struck on the first, left 5 in the second. He punched the scoring monitor, Randy, injured his tendons in his right wrist, kept him off the first half of the tour in 2001, 2002. And he said to us, he said, boy, if there was a defining moment in my life, it was that. I learned that when adversity hits, you can't go around punching scoring monitors.
Well, it's part of, you know, maturing out here on tour. And you know, I think the interesting thing that we need to talk about is, you know, that Richie Allen's a natural left-hander.
Well, he adds to the lead. It was 50 coming into that. He goes up 10 more. He leads by 60. Both players looking for their first PBA Tour title. But Richie Allen is in the driver's seat. Rick Steelsmith has already made it to the finals. Tony Reyes and Richie Allen would love to join him. Both players want their first PBA Tour win, but right now Richie Allen is up by 60 pins, and while we were gone, Tony Reyes spared in the 6th, struck in the 7th, and this is Richie Allen in the 7th, working on 3 in a row. And you mentioned that he was a natural left-hander, Randy.
Nice shot there, leaving the ring at 10. You know, Richie Allen bowled left-handed up until the 2nd grade. He broke his left hand and started to bowl right-handed. Unfortunately, the cast was on his hand for 6 months. He got so good bowling right-handed, he just stayed with it.
That'll work. Yeah, he's won over $15,000 this year. There's a chance to almost triple that.
Tonight at Winter X 6, it's more of the brutal throwdown known as snowcross. Then it's Winter X5 gold medalist Shannon Dunn making her title defense in women's superpipe. Later, skiing superpipe makes its Winter X Games debut. Prepare to shiver. That's tonight at Winter X 6, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN2, and midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific on ESPN2.
Well, back to live action. Richie Allen just strikes in the 8th. Boy, he did this with a vengeance.
Take a look at this shot here. Gets this ball in what we call the swish zone. Right around the 4th arrow. Watch the action of the head pin and this reaction. He's got that evil look on.
There's Tony Reyes that we saw in the opening wild card match where he defeated Amleto Monacelli. Well, our upcoming stops on the PBA Tour. Next week, we make our way to the Tar Heel Open in North Carolina at the Country Club Lanes West in North Carolina, 12:30 Eastern Time, our air time. Then we head up to Latham, New York on February the 17th. Likewise, 12:30 Eastern Time. Then we head to Erie, Pennsylvania for February 24th, where the Eastway Lanes PBA Flagship Open. We hope you join us for each and every Sunday at 12:30 right here on ESPN.
Yeah, it's a good shot from Tony Reyes. And even though
It's like my first time on the show right now. Man.
Tony Reyes could strike out for 200, Richie Allen's going at a 219 pace, so barring any unforeseen accidents, Richie Allen's going to advance, well, for the title against Rick Steelsmith. But you know what? I still like what Tony Reyes is doing with his game, his change. He wants to send a special thanks out to Coco, Don Johnson. It looks real good, and it just makes sense of what he's trying to do with his swing. A spare here in good count in the 10th frame. Richie Allen's going to advance.
And once again, $40,000 first place prize check, second place, $20,000. That would double what he has made on the tour this season.
And Ron, we just want to send out some condolences to PBA champion Dave Traber, who unfortunately lost his father last week.
Absolutely.
Dave, the PBA family wants to wish you the best. And also, on the flip side, we'd like to send congratulations out to Justin Romick and his wife. They just had a brand new baby boy, Matthew Davis. Congratulations, Justin and Christy.
Future PBA Hall of Famer there, coming up on the tour. Well, he needs basically 6 pins here in the 10th, and it's all over. And young Richie Allen will be playing for his first PBA Tour title. Take a deep breath, big guy. You're in. Ah, you got to love these youngsters. We had Brett Wolf, of course, a couple of weeks ago. Tommy last week. We're seeing such great young players. The stars are coming out.
They've got a lot of experience through the amateur bowling, through collegiate bowling.
And our finals are set. Our winner is Richie Allen. It'll be Allen and Rick Steelsmith for the finals and the $40,000 first place check. We'll return to Dallas on ESPN right after this. Now the 4th, 5th, and 6th frames, Richie Allen was able to strike, struck in the 8th and again in the 10th. That gave him the 217, the 20-pin victory over Tony Reyes. And he'll be bowling for the top prize of $40,000 against Rick Steelsmith, who defeated Doug Kent in semifinal number 1 by 8-2, 18-210. You know, tempo is a big part of last week's champion Brian Voss's game, and his ability to control it has been a big factor in his 21 PBA titles. But what is tempo? Randy had a chance to visit with Brian in this week's Pros Approach.
We're here at the Kegel Training Center in Sebring, Florida. With me today, Brian Voss. And Brian's tip today is on tempo. Brian, tell us, what is good tempo?
Well, creating good tempo requires a good start. There's a lot of great players that employ a particular move, names like Chris Barnes, Parker Bone, Pete Weber, and they all do something a particular way, which I'm going to show you right now. If you're a right-handed player, when your right foot hits the ground, you're going to see a full extension of the elbow. This synchronizes your feet with your swing and also puts you in a position where you can pass by the ball very quickly. You generate a lot of momentum, and you're going to apply that momentum to the bottom of the swing. And also, by establishing this particular relationship, it allows you to be very creative. In other words, if I need to create more ball speed, I'm going to get the ball to that position a lot quicker, and I'm also going to move my feet a lot quicker. And if I want to slow my ball speed down, I'm going to get the ball to the same spot, but I'm going to get it there slower, and I'm also going to slow my feet down. I think if you use this move, you'll improve your score dramatically.
Take these great tips from Brian Voss. Listen, bottom line, a bowler with bad tempo is like a musician with no rhythm. It doesn't work. Take these great tips from Hall of Famer Brian Voss and find a good tempo that works for you.
Now Richie Allen looking for his first title. Rick Steelsmith hasn't won since '97 when he beat Brian Voss. It's Steelsmith and Allen next. It comes down to our final two bowlers, Rick Steelsmith and Richie Allen. $40,000 on the line. Richie Allen looking for his first PBA title, trying to become the third first-time winner on the tour this year, joining Kurt Pilon and also Patrick Allen. Pilon winning the Peoria Open, Patrick Allen, of course, the Greater Detroit Open. And here is Richie Allen, the youngster out of Tulsa.
Here's the thing to watch for, I think, in this match. You know, Richie Allen's trying to go straighter, and when you try to go straighter, you got to take a little bit of the hand action out of the bottom of the swing. Every now and then, Richie will grab up or snap on one. You know, his A game is really getting on it and really, you know, making the ball hook a lot. And when you're throwing straight, when you snap on it, the ball's going to break loose in the back end.
Yeah, you talk about tempo. These two guys are completely different as far as tempo is concerned, something you and Brian Voss just spoke about.
Yeah, I think the big difference is Rick Steelsmith gets the ball into the swing a little bit later than Richie Allen, so his first couple steps are going to be a little bit slower. And tempo and timing, I think, kind of go hand in hand. And it's all set up by when the ball is placed into the swing. The feet always try to match what the swing and the ball are doing.
He has had such great ball reaction since the very first ball thrown today.
Well, we talked to Rick earlier this week about his ball reaction. He said he was fishing, doing lots of different things, but watch this timing here. All right, now stop the tape. See how the ball gets back behind him in his third step? It's all relative to the height of his backswing. Okay, go ahead and roll. Freeze. Now look where his hand is directly underneath the ball. That elbow to the inside, that's great power and leverage. Go ahead.
You hear the pop. And he's got two in a row to open things up. You know, he talked about just not thinking about it. Getting too analytical was his problem the last couple of years. You know, trying to find the swing key, but it went the opposite way as far as his timing, which you were talking about. He's just getting up and throwing the ball today.
Yeah, he got confused before, too analytical. Now he's bowling on instinct.
And the youngster not able to answer the challenge, leaving the 7.
And you can really see the difference when Richie Allen gets the ball out of his hand a little bit cleaner. The ball's a little bit faster out of his hand, and the ball holds line.
I love that one.
That was a good shot. It normally would strike 90% of the time.
Well, last year, Toledo played host to some exciting PBA action at the National Championship at Southwick Lanes, and this year should be no different as they play host to the PBA World Championship. With the first place finish worth $120,000, the richest in PBA history. Be sure to catch all the action February 25th through March the 3rd, and we'll have the televised finals on Sunday, March 3rd at 12:30. Once again, it's the World Championship. Used to be the National Championship. That didn't look like it was going to get there. You know, you talk about great strikes. I got to give kudos to somebody you're very fond of, Bob Brown, who bowled his, I believe, 4th 300 game last Tuesday, 62 years old.
62 years old, my junior bowling coach growing up, Bob Brown, Marilyn Brown. Call them Mom and Dad. They're the greatest people in the world. He taught me everything I knew growing up, and now, of course, I teach him. So, Bob, I'll take full credit for that 300 game. I gave him a ball a couple weeks ago in Medford. He pulls 300 with it.
Looking for the 21-pin advantage, and he's got it. You know, Rick has been so solid on the left lane. Now he's getting solid on the right lane.
Well, he's making great shots. He has a real clear picture mentally of what he's trying to do with a bowling ball. And again, we said, you know, earlier in this first match, this guy is one break, one win away from really turning things around. And this would be a great time to get in the winner's circle. 40 grand, his biggest paycheck next to when he won the ABC Masters. Listen to his fingers pop at the release.
Oh, he is on a roll.
He's really got a good picture of what he's trying to do on both lanes. A little bit deeper on the left lane, going with that loft, holding the ball on line.
4 straight.
Watch this ball get airborne. His hand is just so beautiful at the point of release. It's underneath to the inside part of the ball, going right up through the back of it.
Yeah, he needs to cut this 31-pin lead down to 21 with a strike. And he does. You know, one thing you like about Richie Allen, we saw it in Brett Wolf in Reno. We saw it last week with Tommy. These guys don't back down. They've got that bulldog mentality that Rick Steelsmith, you're bowling well, but I'm coming up right in your face.
He's not scared.
He's not scared.
that boy not scared at all.
Well, he can cut it to 11 with another strike.
Well, these guys bowled all week long in a grueling format to make it to this point. You know, it's do or die. There's nothing to lose, man. You laid all out on the line. Oh, making really good shots. He needs to carry.
Run about it.
Well, he has a tattoo on his neck that reads "Next." Says it keeps it motivated, singing that he's going to be the next great player.
How tight that ball is to his ankle. That left arm up in the air for balance, gets that right shoulder down, the left arm goes up. You know, it used to be the old adage was don't drop your right shoulder. Well, that was back in the days when you had to throw the ball really straight and go up the boards. Now that in the days of the big hook ball, the tip now is drop your shoulder.
Drop your shoulder now.
Don't be afraid to drop your shoulder. It might help. Get that right shoulder down. That helps you project the ball to the right.
Well, he's just hugging the ball return. You can't get any closer unless he was inside of it. Looking to take a 32-pin lead with a strike.
Steelsmith just making awesome shots right now. Somebody better go get him some coffee to go with that sweet roll.
Well, there's nothing Richie Allen can do. Perfect game so far. Once again, a $10,000 bonus if you bowl a perfect game on television. Rick is still a long way from that, but it's not a bad start. 5 in a row.
Well, it's a good start. Trust me, the last thing on his mind right now is 300.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it's striking each and every time he gets up and keeping the pressure on Richie Allen. Well, you could see that ball was firm and fast out of his hand, but he gets the great break. Again, we talk about it. Doesn't leave the 10-pin with the 2. Watch this ball. This is firm and hard. And he knows it.
Once again, he has changed equipment too. We mentioned it in his first match. And it is paying off today. Starts out with 5 in a row. Rick Steelsmith looking for that $40,000 first place check. He leads by 31 pins over Richie Allen. Still more bowling from Dallas in a moment. We are through 5 frames, and right now Rick Steelsmith with a 31-pin lead over Richie Allen out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And our amateurs from Euless, Bedford, and Hearst, just north of where we are right now. Nelson Solomon, Chuck Anderson, and Johnny Rose. Showed just how difficult it is to be on the PBA Tour. And how about this young man? This is Dominic Barrett, who came all the way from England, just 13 years of age. He's the junior Pro-Am winner. And we'd like to welcome Dominic here. How about a 2-year-old bowling in the Pro-Am? 2-year-old Jacob Dollar has a 79.5 average. He bowled with Rick Steelsmith, as a matter of fact.
That's great.
Bowled a 108, 117, and a 90, and he's 2 years old.
Future star.
I can't do that now. Richie Allen. Okay, we saw him go in the pocket, but prior to this, Randy Peterson, he was hitting the pocket. Pins weren't going down. Tony Reyes made a move. Should he have made a move?
Well, you know, it worked for one game for Tony Reyes, but Richie Allen goes 10-pin in the second.
I hear you.
Double.
I hear you.
Leaves the 10-pin in the fifth and strikes in the sixth. He could easily have 5-bagger, and this match would be all tied. You know, the problem here is now you got to stay where you're at. Keep hitting the pocket, will the pins down. Rick Steelsmith's playing a completely different angle. When his ball hits the pocket, it strikes.
It's grin and bear it time.
You got to grin and bear it.
There he goes. He's found it.
Well, he's like I said, he's hitting it. It's not that he can't hit the pocket. They just got to fall when he does hit the pocket.
Is this a Walter Ray Williams will these babies down?
You got to give it to Walter Ray Williams Jr. Horseshoe Mojo. Will him down. You got to will him down.
To Pete Weber yell at him.
Yeah. Here's a guy that was red hot, had that one hiccup in the sixth frame. See if Rick Steelsmith can get right back on it. Well, a great shot. Leaves a ring in 10. Rick's really impressing me. He's making quality shots, getting the ball to the pocket, facing the 1-3 the right way, staying poised. Look at the 6 jump right around the 10 pin. That's called a ringing 10 when the 6 gets airborne, goes up and around. When it lays flat in the gutter, that would be a flat 10.
Up by 20, possible 279, Randy.
What causes the different 10 pins is when a ball retains energy longer, it breaks sharper in the back end. So the entry angle is going to be at a little sharper angle, gets the 6 to go up and around. When it spends energy earlier or doesn't have that big back end reaction, a lot of the times the 6 will just lay in the gutter.
Well, possible 268, but he's up by 20. You know, you're talking to Rick Steelsmith last night about the sports psychologist. He came in with such a great attitude. It's such a grind this week to bowl, but he said, I know that I have improved the last 6 months no matter what happens. He took the pressure off himself coming into this match. Wow! Oh, he got away with one. Let's go to Vegas, Rick. My goodness. That's jackpot.
Well, if you can't strike hitting the pocket in the 1-3, try this. Watch this shot. That's just about to the Brooklyn side. He's like, oh, boy. Get lucky. Oh, I did.
I knew that. Now, Richie Allen has a chance, though, to cut it to 10 pins if he strikes here.
Richie Allen can strike out for 258. Rick Steelsmith can strike out 268.
It starts there.
It's game on.
This is what the new format of the PBA is all about. You do it, I'll do it.
With a strike here, we have a tie match, 9th and 10th frame. Richie Allen strikes here. Evens it up.
To put this in perspective, his lone regional title came in 1999 in Shawnee, Oklahoma. It's just a couple of hours, hour and a half outside of Oklahoma City. Now he's bowling for $40,000. And Rick Steelsmith has to finish on the left lane. Oh, baby. Knock him down, Richie Allen.
And you mentioned Rick Steelsmith having the finish on the left lane. That's because he went 2-pin on the left lane, follows it up with that Brooklyn shot. As we take a look at Don
Shoemaker and Adam Wise.
Yeah.
The last Richie Allen that was able to hit ball on wood like that, they called him Dick Allen. Played for the Phillies. Ooh, the air is getting thin in Dallas. What happened, Randy?
Ball gets in the Swiss zone, and he threw a shot like that. The 11th frame of his last match to advance. This time he doesn't get the good break.
Stays perfect on single pin conversions for the tournament. He is at 198 through 8.
Situation.
They're even.
I'm sorry. The situation is this. Rick Steelsmith can strike out to shoot 248. He will force Richie Allen to double in the 10th to win. This first shot is big because they're both working on the same count. They both are working on 238 right now.
He's asking for a re-rack.
Asking for a re-rack, either buying time or doesn't like the way the pins have set up. Maybe giving himself some time to figure out what he needs to do or the adjustment he needs to make on that left lane. Here's the important strike, though, right here. With a strike here, he forces Richie Allen to get the first hit.
That's right.
If he doesn't strike here, depending on what his count is, Richie may or may not have to throw that first strike to win. It's a big shot.
Oh.
Well,
now tell us.
That was a good shot, and it looked like the right adjustment to make. The first time he went 2-pin on that lane, threw it too hard. The next time he comes back, a little soft, crosses over. That shot, to me, looked like it was a good shot. The speed was right. The ball just never gripped the lane in the back end. All right, spare conversion. With a strike here, he will force Richie Allen to get the first strike and 5 to win. Anything less, Richie Allen would just need good count and mark and a good fill. Fill 19, 20 pins in the 10th frame. He's going to be a winner. So right now, Rick Steelsmith's only thought is getting 10.
Just get 10 right now. There it is.
Got that ball further right, Ron, and that ball made the turn.
So he checks in at 237, opens up with 5 in a row, had a 34-pin lead at one time, but it comes down to the 10th. Richie Allen with a strike and 5 to win. It starts out right here.
9 spare strike, we have a tie. Richard Shockley says you got to trust your instincts, good speed, and rotation.
Oh, my!
Winner, winner, chicken dinner!
Deep breath. The man that's been sick since the beginning of the week
needs 5.
Needs 5. Yeah. 5 will get him 40. Oh, with 2 to spare. Oh, Richie Allen.
He's your winner.
Rick
be in the
Steelsmith.
240s.
Rick Steelsmith, 5 in a row. Looked like he was in the driver's seat after 6 frames with a 34-pin advantage. But Richie Allen came on strong, striking in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, first to the 10th, ends up with a spare. And Richie Allen, whose dream is to make it in the PBA Hall of Fame. He's wanted that dream from